Hi all. Hi, this is Mahesh. Uh, I am working as an test lead in one of the CMM level 5 company in Hyderabad. I have almost 10 years of experience into completely into ETL testing as well as report testing. So that's the complete BI suite of testing. I have an experience. Recently, we started working on big data also, some on NoSQL databases, Cassandra. So today's session, our primary focus will be on giving an overview on how what is ETL testing, what are the prospects in ETL testing, and how do you do an ETL testing, and we will map the ETL testing with respect to any of the SDLC process. This session is completely only on giving an overview about the ETL testing. In the coming sessions, most probably in a week's of time, we'll start a batch where we will discuss in detail with some real-time examples. Okay, so now I'm safely assuming that many of you must be knowing what a BI is all about. So say suppose if you take a simple example of Amazon, right? It has a lot of data that is coming from multiple source systems. It can be an operational system, database system like ERP systems like EBS suite, etc., or any civil system or any CRM application, or from HR data, the employees data, the finance data, or coming from external sources like the vendors details or any marketing done by third parties or any third party suppliers, etc. So this comes from there's a lot of data coming from external sources. Now, when from a management perspective, when they want to see the end-to-end of a set of data, say suppose an employee is there, they want to see what's the salary that is paid to them, which project he is working on, where is he working on, what is the income or which project he is into. Okay, so that if you see is that the information is present in multiple systems, but there's no common system where they can sit. Okay, that's where the need of data warehouse came into picture or a uniform system came into picture. Or there can be scenarios where in your operational system you have entire your history of information that is present. But from management perspective, they want to see only this current year's data. A simple SQL query written on that particular database will fetch data from the entire history, right? So that's where it's a time-taking process and the performance, or it's a performance issue. Okay, because many people are plugged into this machine, and one simple query is taking some time, and obviously the performance degradation will happen. So that's the another what to say use case where then there is the need of data warehouse came into picture. Now the other most important thing that these days we are looking is the reporting and analysis of the huge chunk of data that is coming in these source systems, any of the database or flat files or third-party integration, FTP files. So in order to have a effective and precise reporting, we cannot plug into all these multiple sources, right? So there's a uniform or a homogeneous system that is required. So that's where the data warehouse comes into picture. So from this, we directly pull it. So by seeing all this, right, the characteristics of data warehouses, it's a read-only system. Thereby, it's not allowing the other transactions that happen on the system. It's only read-only system, right? So I can easily read. If it is a read-write system, then parallel transactions of editing, creation, deleting will be happening. So then again, the entire performance issue or the performance need is wasted here. So that's the reason data warehouse will be a read-only system. Now, if many of you must be knowing database administrators point, they know there's a concept called as mirroring. Okay. Now people may say, when I have the concept of mirroring, why do I require an ETL tool to copy the data from C source systems into target? Now mirroring can be done on a database to a to any other system, that copying of data from one system to other system, other database precisely. Mirroring helps that only from database to database and a similar structure. So if you take the example of mirror itself, what it will show the mirror image of us. It will not change anything, right? But in reality, right, you in order to have performance issues resolution, a same replica of database or data table column structure may not be needed. Or if you go for reporting purpose, having a straight columns doesn't have any use. Okay, so for that you need to create a concatenation columns, or you have to have some measures or some calculations happening on these columns. So mirroring concept does not help. That's the reason this ETL concept came into picture. So what ETL does primarily, it will extract data from these multiple systems, which we call it as heterogeneous systems, and it will copy it into a homogeneous system called as data warehouse. So if you see, database has in the data model format, Excel has an XLS format, Word document, Word format. So the data format is different in these heterogeneous systems. But when it comes to data warehouse, it's in a unique format, in the table structure format, right? So that's where, from where you can pull your reports. So this complete system of database, ETL, data warehouse, and reporting is called as business intelligence or BI. Okay. Now, what's the primary purpose of, now by seeing this, we have a huge set of data, okay, that's coming from internal, external sources, okay. Now you need to clean them, have an accurate and in some standard format. So for that, you need an ETL. So it should be converted from data to information format. Okay, from this to the informed way. So informed way means the end user who is using the system should have a communication about the information that I have in my system. That will be done. That will be done in form of reports, which will help in decision making, maintaining the process, doing the performance management, doing the analysis or diagnosis, and corporate reporting, the normal reporting, etc. Okay, so that's the primary purpose of ETL. Now, when we say a data warehouse, okay, what is it exactly? So a data warehouse is also a database, but the way we use or the purpose of this particular database is different to the normal database. So a database is a transaction processes system. It connects to the real-time environment. It's just like you have a website, say something, a banking application, where you do the money transfers, or there are a lot of users who are using the banking application. But from the bank's perspective, they want to see how many transfers happen, what is the end balance. They need to connect to all these users' information. They should segregate and they should see, right? Which is a tedious task. So simplifying that is having all this transaction information in a data warehouse, and you just pull a report saying that, so give me the end of the day transaction history. So that's very easy, right? So OLAP, so that's where OLTP is a database and OLAP will be a data warehouse. But both of them are the same. I mean, data warehouse is also a database, but the purpose or the way it is being used is different. So OLTP is online transaction processing system. OLAP is online analytical processing system. Okay. Now, where does ETL fit in here? So you have multiple systems, source systems, which are in a different format, which we call as heterogeneous systems. Copying it in a homogeneous format, that's where ETL will come into picture. So ETL is also, it's just a process. Okay. Now, what are the tools that are available in the market? We generally classify them as commercial tools, okay, which we need to buy upfront and then install on our client system environment, and we develop the logics, how to transform or load the data from one system to the other. So that's a commercial ETL tool. And we have open source tool which are free to install. You can work just like you create your logics or the transformations. Okay. Primarily in the market, we have Informatica. This is a top, mostly used ETL tool. So as of now, ETL Informatica is tied up with Oracle. Okay. By 2020, the partnership between Oracle and Informatica ends. So Oracle is coming up with its own tool, ODS, Open Oracle Data Source. Okay, Data Warehouse Builder. So IBM's data stage, this is one commercial tool. Microsoft has SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services. Uh, SAP has its own data integrator, and then Pentaho is an open source tool. Okay, Pentaho, it has Kettle or data integration, and Talent has Talent DTL. It's an open source tool. Abnishio has its own commercial tool again. So primarily, this particular training will focus more on Informatica because a large set of users or companies are using Oracle and Informatica as an integration tool, ETL tool. Okay. Now, from testing perspective, right? As we see, there's a lot of data, and there's a lot of logics or process that is going through an ETL tool. What should an ETL tester should have as a prerequisite? Uh, he or she should have a knowledge about database modeling, some knowledge on data warehouse concepts, mostly on SQL for data validation, and a good knowledge on Excel for doing the data comparison. Now, this training will emphasize on all these four areas. Okay, so it, at the end of the session, I'll break up what will be how will we cover all these four areas. Okay. Now, in ETL testing, right, we generally classify ETL testing as both white box testing and black box testing. So I suppose we know the difference between black box testing and white box testing. So white box testing is something on the tool specific or logic specific, right? So we will have any of the client, whatever is the ETL tool is used, we will see the logic or the mappings or transformations that are created in the ETL tool, and we'll see whether they are created as per the logic or not. So that's white box testing. Black box testing is, you know what is the source and target structure, right? So we will make sure the tables or columns that are created in the target are as per the requirement. And the data that flows into the target after the ETL process is completed, we will validate the data. So that's data testing. So that comes in the black box. And miscellaneous things like performance, okay, how if a table has millions records, how much time will it take to load it to the target, what is the buffer size that it took while loading it, etc. So these are all performance testing attributes. So these come under black box testing again. Okay, so these two areas on a high level we emphasize. Apart from this, there's something called as report testing, right? So from report testing perspective, how a data warehouse will be useful. I'll take a tool called OBI, which is a reporting tool, and we will integrate to the ETL system or ETL data warehouse, and we will pull the data into it. So we will just on a high level show you how to do the testing on it. Okay. As I said earlier, right, this we will show this entire testing process, the STLC process, right from requirement analysis, how do you do it, then from the test plan preparation, test case preparation, and how do you test them, regression, retesting, defect management, and post-production, pre-production activities. We will have a thorough, end-to-end process that we will show you. Okay. Now, so on a high level, when we say type ETL testing, first and foremost is the schema testing or the structure, the database data warehouse structure validations. And then the white box testing is more on the transformation or the ETL logics that are written in the tool. So we'll open the tool and see. And then the data testing once the data is more. Now the most important thing is load testing. So when a data warehouse, when we start from scratch, a data warehouse will be empty. So that when you load the data into it, then we call it as full load test, full load. So in such scenarios, how will it react? And then when we do the incremental load, delta load, say suppose I already loaded into the data warehouse, and the next day when I'm running the ETL, whatever changes have been done after the last ETL run, only those records should be copied into the target. It doesn't make any sense to reload again the data, right? So that's where the incremental load concept come into picture. So how do you test in such scenarios? You need not do the entire data testing, right? So how do you do the incremental load testing? We will do. That's one type of testing. Now integration or distributed systems. So there are multiple source systems. So how do you, or multiple targets. So one data warehouse is again split into multiple data marts. So how do you validate, or how do you do that integration testing? That we will do it here. And the other thing is performance testing, as I said earlier. And then last but not least, automation testing. So this will be more on how do you validate the data from source to target. So more of data testing. Okay. So this again, as I said, we will map it to the STLC process. We will take examples of waterfall model and agile model. How do you react when you are doing it through the waterfall model? How do you react when you do through the agile model? Okay, Scrum based systems. And others, there are miscellaneous concepts called as something like scheduling tools. So how do you run your jobs? How do you run your transformations? So there are multiple scheduling tools that are available in the market, which will be integrated to the ETL tools. So we will have a discussion on that. And then Unix commands, because Informatica runs on Unix. So we need to have understanding about Unix commands in order, if there are no scheduling tools that are used in the uh, company or by the client, we need to run the mappings or transformations or batch jobs using Unix commands. So we'll have a basic set of Unix commands. We'll discuss on them. SSIS from Microsoft, it is deployed on Windows machine, so we need not have any Unix commands. If it's just a batch job, right? You just right click on the batch file that is present in the server and you just run them. So how do you do that on a high level? How do you do that in different tools that are being used? We'll just give a glimpse about it. And then some knowledge about build and deployment, because there are multiple systems here, right? We have multiple sources. ETL server is there, data warehouse is there, reporting tools are there. So a high level information about the build and deployment. And knowledge about that will also help you, right? Because down the line, if you find any defect, you will clearly understand where, in which section we found this defect. Okay. And then last but not least, the best practices in doing the ETL testing. Okay. And then for data validation, as I said earlier, right, we need to have knowledge on Excel comparison, row by row comparison, macros. How do you create? There will be measures created on target tables, right? So how do you validate them? So for that, macros, knowledge on macros or the arithmetic operations is needed. So we'll emphasize that on need of Excel also. Okay. So this is on a high level about the ETL testing. Now, by looking in the prospect side, right, uh, there are large RDBMS systems that are present as of now. But if you would have heard about the big data, right, where we have document or column-based database management systems, and with the advent of big data, the ETL knowledge will come into handy. Now the wrong notion that in an industry is there are many number of tools that are available. So if I learn something on Informatica and do ETL testing on it, will it be helpful for me to do the testing on any other tool, new tool that is coming? So that's the wrong notion we have. See, ETL testing process is similar across. It's in tool independent. Okay. Only thing we should understand is learn the process, learn the database model and data warehouse concepts. How do you do the ETL testing? How do you do data validation? But when it's come to the white box testing, it's more tool specific, right? So in the complete ETL testing, this particular part is only a small piece. Okay. So learning any tool, it's a 5 to 7 days of task. But having a knowledge about the entire ETL process is more important than knowing about the tool. Okay. So this particular training will more emphasize on how do you do the entire ETL process, and we will take one tool. Say now we will show only for Informatica. But going forward, we will keep on adding new tools. So ODS is coming into picture, right? So we'll have a separate session for ODS testing. So, but that's more on white box testing. And then we have ETL and big data. So we will do have a separate course for that. Okay. But the basic underlying knowledge is having a knowledge about the ETL process. Okay. So now on a high level, we have, as discussed earlier, we have classified the entire course into 5 sections. The one will be data mesh modeling and data warehouse concepts, for which we need 2 to 3 days of class session, which will cover what are tables, columns, data types, what are sequences, stored procedures, triggers, constraints, etc. Okay. And then the core SQL. So having a knowledge about how do you create, how do you define, how do you manipulate DML, DD, and DQL queries, knowledge on joins, having, group, whereby, arithmetic functions. This will take 7 days of training. Okay, and then we'll come to the ETL tool. So our primary focus for this session will be Informatica. So how do you create mappings in it? What are the transformation logic, different transformations we have? How do you create sessions? How do you create a full load, incremental load? How do you test them? Okay, this will take 5 to 7 days of time. And the miscellaneous is we'll take any one of the scheduling tool used to run these mappings, okay, or running these sessions. So and then knowledge about Excel, knowledge about Unix commands. This will have a 2 days, 2 to 3 days. And then this also automation includes both performance testing as well as the automation of data validation. This how will you do using Excel sheet? Excel sheet will be the primary focus. Excel comparison. If someone is already using Excel 2016, there's a new tool called as Excel comparator. So that will help us doing the data comparison. Apart from this, I'll show BI Validator. It's an automation tool that is available in the market. ETL Validator specifically. ETL Validator is for ETL and BI Validator is for reporting. So this will take 2 days of time. So on a total 20 to 25 or 22 days of training is needed. And once this is completed, I'll show a real-time project where how do you do the entire end-to-end, what we will be doing it during the testing. This is more of theoretical, right? Theoretical with a mix of practical, but this will be a complete practical session where I'll take one simple requirement and how do I test in my current project. So I'll show you the end-to-end process. Okay, so this is what we will be covering in this training. Most probably it will take a week or 10 days of time to start the complete batch. Okay, so any questions, any issues, whatever it may be, if you want any answer, just mail us on nmrpsd10@gmail.com. Okay, and keep the subject as ETL testing queries. Whatever it is, we'll be very happy to answer those questions. Okay. So that's it from my side. And going forward, we'll have a lot of knowledge that will be shared with you. Any issues, any questions, whatever is a doubt, we will at least try to answer them. If not on the same day, we'll come back the next day or two, and we'll be answering it to you. Okay. That's it from my side. Thank you for attending or looking into this video. Good night. Good day.